Hi, everyone. This is Lakshmi. We're waiting for a few participants to join us from the other tracks that are just concluding. So we'll get started at 2 p.m. sharp. Thank you. All right, we have quite a few people here in the room. And while we wait to get started at 2, um, we would love to get some inputs from you. We would love to hear from you on what your biggest takeaways were from day 1 and day 2 so far. Feel free to give us your answers in the chat box, and it'll help us curate the next time we do this much better. So we'd love to hear what your biggest takeaways were from day 1 and day 2 so far. Good afternoon and welcome back, everyone. The topic for this afternoon's plenary is going back to the Tabula Rasa. I know this is a session many of us have been looking forward to, so let me quickly get some logistics out of the way. We would like to try something slightly different for the session. Please go ahead and ask all your questions on the Q&A tab. The audience will have the option to endorse the questions that they like. The top 3 questions will be answered live in the session. And without any further delay, let's get started with the plenary. It is an absolute pleasure and an honor to have with us today Nobel Peace Laureate and founder of Grameen Bank, Dr. Mohammad Yunus.
Hello. Hi, I'm here.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Hosting Dr. Yunus in this fireside chat, we have Mr. Arun Seth. Mr. Seth is the ex-chairman of British Telecom India and Alcatel-Lucent of NASCOM and is a trustee of NASCOM Foundation. He's also served on the boards of several leading companies, including Narayan Hridayalaya and Jubilant Foodworks, and non-profits like Helpage India and The Nudge. Welcome, Arun, sir, and over to you to introduce Dr. Yunus and take the discussion forward.
Thank you, Lakshmi. Dr. Yunus, what a privilege to be hosting you on this fireside chat. Fires are outside, hopefully not inside us.
I hope so.
Yeah, and we hope that what you'll be able to do is douse some of the fires outside and give us some guidance. So I don't think you need any more introduction. You're a legend in your own right. So I'm not going to spend time in telling about the number of awards, but all I can say is his long biodata is 33 pages. So I'm not going to try to get there at all, Dr. Yunus. So your words of wisdom will be really what we want. So what I would suggest is that if you could talk to us for about 12 to 15 minutes, and then I'll ask a few questions which I have, and then we'll open it to the audience questions.
Okay.
Well, you know the background, as you said, Ki, this whole thing is of going back to the tabula rasa, to the restart, to reset, or whatever you may like to call it.
Yeah, let me try. But I'm very happy to be with you, Arun, and also all the other participants. And I've been talking about the situation of the world and also in Bangladesh because of the pandemic and what it has done to us and what possibilities it has opened up for us. Let me just touch on the subject of vaccine, which is in everybody's mind, that we see vaccine somehow will bring us to a point where it can turn around. But who got the vaccine? It's interesting news yesterday was Sanofi had a big announcement that they will be producing vaccine. As soon as they do, all the first productions will go to United States. And they made it very clear on that. They said the United States paid them a lot of money, so vaccine has to go to United States. That made the French people furious because this is a French company, and the French government very furious. Of course, the whole world very furious too. Why should they? French people had a good argument because government has poured in lots of money into Sanofi in development of vaccine. So the now question is, if you have an environment where companies can decide who should live and who should die or who should be protected, that's not the way the world is going to go along. So we have to be clear right from the beginning, and I've been talking about it. I'm sure you'll be doing it your own way, to how to make this as an open source. Vaccines should be open source product. This is a product for life, survival. And it cannot be owned by a company. Company decides who to give and at what price, at what time, and how much amount, and so on. It cannot be done that. It cannot be going on like that. 5 big pharmaceutical companies literally control the vaccines, besides all other medicines, which is again the same story. Why should it be? So for the vaccine part, it should be a global good. It should be a global common good. It should have access to everybody, and it should be open source. It shouldn't be restricted to any patent right on that. That decision has to be taken now, because tomorrow it will be late. Tomorrow there'll be 8 billion vaccines should be used in the world, because 8 billion people are here. So potentially everybody will be using the vaccine to protect themselves from the onslaught of corona virus. So this is one issue right in front of us, and we have to raise our voice and make sure how to make that work. And there are many ways. One of the issues that I've been discussing, I've been practicing myself, called social business. Business to solve problem rather than make any personal money. And we have been doing it, and it has idea has spread in some ways, some countries. This is a very good subject of social business, where you raise money, investment money, you produce, you even invest money for developing vaccines, and then you produce it, and not for making any money at all for personal reasons. It's just to be sustainable and make sure everybody gets to it. Governments and others can fund it to distribute it free in their own country. And so the company just simply produces it the best quality possible, quickest way possible, and so on. So those kind of institutions, those kinds of businesses have to be developed right now, so that we free the medicine. Almost half the cost of healthcare is on medicine, and this is controlled by few companies. And when it is controlled by few companies, lots of issues come up, that the misuse of the medicines, and the medicine not being available at the right time, at the right place, at the right price, and so on. So why should we at the disposal, we should make our life at the disposal of companies to decide how to do that. So we should take it away, give it a chance that everybody can do that. It's not something that should be limited to several companies and so on. So this is one issue that I would like to pinpoint right away. Another one that I was discussing, the life versus livelihood issue, which became very strong. It came, Donald Trump made it a big issue, and then it became a Western issue. Now we are debating on that issue. To me, it's a non-issue. Life doesn't have something to be traded with. It cannot be a traded subject. It's a life has a primacy of life has to be accepted first. Life first before anything else. And life is unique. It has to be protected by all means. But the livelihood is something which has lots of options. Life doesn't have an option. Either you are alive or you are dead. And livelihood has many options, but it is put as if this is kind of one-on-one correspondence between the two. Either you have a life or you have a livelihood. It's not like that. Life remains, and we see what the livelihood options are. There are many livelihood options. You can provide food, free food, and subsidized food, ration card foods, even channeling money through banking channels so that people can get it. With India, it's a lucky situation with Aadhaar. Everybody has an Aadhaar number. All we have to do is share these Aadhaar numbers with the families. Each person can take care of several or one Aadhaar number, that this is Aadhaar number that I take care of, and I provide out of my bank account, out of my own resources, send the money to this particular family and do that. And many people do that. Corporations can do that, individuals can do that. One doesn't have to be a rich person to take care of one person or other, because all you need is adopt an Aadhaar number, and the whole India is taken care of. It's even government doesn't have to get involved with it. So there are many options. This is something, I'm sure there are brighter ideas of that, but India provides a very interesting case where it can be done. To give you a clear picture, see, when we talk about artificial intelligence, I've been debating about it. I've been raising my worries about artificial intelligence. I'm saying artificial intelligence, the way it's going, is going to destroy the whole world because it will remove human being from his employment, from his job. So we'll have a massive unemployment coming up very quickly, and we don't know what to do with that. And the people who are promoting the idea of artificial intelligence, they are very quick. They say, no, don't worry about that. This is solved because all the people who will be out of job will be taken care of universal basic income. Everybody has to have universal basic income. Government should provide them the basic income and so on. But when Corona does the same thing, creates a loss of unemployment, massive unemployment, nobody talks about universal basic income. Why? In one case, you are very enthusiastic about solving the problem as if this is done. But in the Corona case, you don't do that. So there is some kind of mismatch where your interest is. In one case, you become very vocal. In other case, you keep quiet. So this is not an issue. This issue is to protect people. And we have to find other alternatives, how to make sure the people have either finance or income for themselves, so that, or food for themselves, so that they can continue. The last point on this issue I will mention about my worry about the Corona situation. As soon as the Corona situation will be over, then the whole world will try to get back to the same old thing that they've been doing before, meaning that pre-Corona, they want to go back to the pre-Corona stage. I said, why do you want to go back to the pre-Corona stage? That was a terrible world. We are lucky that we are away from that. And Corona, in a way, after all those massive damages it has done to people and to the societies and economy and so on. But one good thing it has done, it has destroyed the world that we were trying to destroy anyway, or itself was destroying it, the world by its own deed. We were complaining about global warming. We almost gave a little window of time that we have, 2 decades or 3 decades, and it's all over. And the young people are marching on the street saying that you don't have a life for us. You adults have, older generation has taken away our life from us because there is no world to live in. And then grandchildren, unborn grandchildren, probably will not have any life at all. So that's the kind of world that we left behind, and we don't want to go back to that world. And that's not the only thing, global warming, where we said that this is the last decade, or it is the decade of the last chance to fix the world. Otherwise, if you miss this decade, which is the current decade, there's nothing we can do. We're just jumping off the cliff and it's all over, and the time is over. And the other one is extreme wealth concentration. And India is no different than any other country. Extreme wealth concentration taking place every second. So every moment is taken. The machine that we built, what we call economy, is a machine to suck up all the wealth and push it in one direction. And that's not the machine that we want to go back to. Wealth concentration, I've been calling it a ticking time bomb. It will explode and destroy everything that we got so far. So that's not the explosive situation that we would like to go back to. And the third one is, of course, artificial intelligence. And I've been reminding that technology can be a blessing, technology can be a curse. I said the side of artificial intelligence, which is growing very fast and with lots of enthusiasm for money-making people, is the curse direction of the artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence can be a blessing, and we realized it during the coronavirus pandemic period, that all the healthcare can be brought by artificial intelligence in such a nice way, and monitor the whole system of coronavirus expansion, location, concentration can be done, beautifully done, and appropriate actions can be taken, and preparations can be taken. But that's not what we did with the artificial intelligence. We want to replace people in a hurry, so that our cost of production goes down, our bottom line gets better, bigger, and we make a lot of money. Who cares for the people losing jobs and so on and so forth? So all these things combining was the result of the world that we left behind. We don't want to go back to that world. This is a disaster path. This is the path where it's a frying pan. We don't want to jump into the frying pan that we came out of. So let's make a different world. That's a whole issue. We had to do the rethinking, redesigning, reinstitutionalizing everything, create new institutions. We don't take any of the old stuff. So what are the things we must abandon? We must take them, leave them behind forever, and what are the things we can select, we can modify and take it with us, and what are the new things we have to build so that the new pillars of the societies can be built. And we can create a world that we want, and that's our choice. And this is the choice given to us right now. So we exercise that choice, make a new world for us. And I'll stop here.
Thank you. No, we are bang on time. We didn't require any AI for that, Doctor.
Thank you.
The only thing I would say, hearing you, is as long as we don't put Corona in a pantheon of gods, it's okay.
Yes, I see.
We do not need that.
Yeah.
Though we have one of our gods as the destroyer, but this is not what. But that's with a creative basis.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
So I think you answered one of my first questions as where should we pivot or perish, as we say in the startup world. You're just saying we just pivot. We do not go back to what we were doing.
Right.
And I think that's a one big lesson for all the audience that's listening. And so that, and that's going to be a sort of debate for all the other issues that we are going to be discussing. The second issue, which I heard one of your talks, was that man was not somehow built to do a job. This is one of your talks I've heard. And so how and now with so much unemployment which is there, I mean, all over the place, how do we make entrepreneurs out of all the people? If there are no jobs in the old traditional sense, how do we make people into entrepreneurs with your social business, with the kind of experience you have building social businesses? How do we bring out the spirit of entrepreneurship, which is critical for creating the new world?
Yeah, the way I try to bring it to the attention that human beings are not born to work for somebody else.
Yeah.
Human beings is a free entity. They do things what they want, and that's our history. From if you go back in history, we were farmers, we were go-getters, we were hunters, gatherers. We are not working for anybody. We are together. We take care of ourselves and fought the adversity in life, the nature, and make our place, and succeeded in doing that. And I keep saying that when we're in the caves, we are not sending job applications to anybody. We just did what needed to be done. So when did this job idea came? Very recently. So it's not something, a legacy that we are carrying. It is convenient for the theoreticians who made up the theory that runs the economy today to figure out there'll be some entrepreneurs and there'll be bulk of people who will be working for them. And that's what suits them. So we've been trained from the birth that you grow up, go to school and get ready to get a job. If you don't get a job, very bad luck. You're unfortunate, you're an unemployed person. I said the whole problem of unemployment is created by creating the concept of employment. If we didn't have the concept of employment, there is no unemployment. We'll be surviving, we'll be doing our own things. That's why we're equipped. But somehow we are pushed into thinking that I have to have a job. I said, at least give people option. And our education system is again promoting that you have to have a job. Many universities, centers of learning pride themselves by saying, we prepare job-ready young people. I said, that's a shame to say you prepare job-ready young people. You should be preparing life-ready young people, not job-ready young people. In all education institutions, every single child should be given an option. Tell them that they have two options. They can be a job seeker and work for somebody. I'm not denying that if you want to, but they can also be an entrepreneur. If you want to take the track of job seeking, this is what you do. This is what you prepare. If you want to be an entrepreneur, this is what you do. And because we believed in employment as the solution to all the problems, because you don't have to worry about the entrepreneurship. So we created an entire financial system to do that. If there's an unemployed person today, anywhere in the world, not only in Bangladesh or India, anywhere in the world, if he or she is looking for some investment money to start the business, no financial institution will come forward and give that, provide that money. I said, why not? And I challenged that, and he created those financial institutions, which gives the money equity in the hands of the unemployed young people, say, you go ahead, you design your business and continue your business. In business also means business to fail. Business is not always 100% guaranteed success. And we are financial institution behind you and make sure that you continue your
that's really good, Dr. Yunus.
go to the success level. And we'll continue.
And we do
that every day.
May I ask a couple of other small questions?
Go ahead.
Thank you. So one of the things you said, since we don't want to go back to the old world, which was all about urbanization and so on and so forth, I remember what Mahatma Gandhi and Dr. Abdul Kalam and all said about going back to the villages. Is this our chance to use technology to recreate a new world back in the villages rather than in urban centers?
Technology is a fantastic thing. It's something enables you. It's a tool. First, you have to figure out what you want to use this tool for.
Yeah.
So that's a crucial issue. And why do you design this tool? It's a designer has the idea who need this for what purpose. So if you are explaining to your problem, designer will come up with a design which exactly fits your need. So it's not the village of the city. The whole design of the economy is wrong. So what you have done, you create a concentration of all your economic activity one place, call it urban center. So village doesn't have anything. And you told every young person that you have to have a job. And you go to farmers to get a job. He says, I have enough, I have a machine now, I don't need you. So what do I do as a young person? I go to the city because that's they have the job, because I have to have a job. This is my survival feature. So you drilled into my head that I have to have a job. And you make everything blocked out for me. No other option you left for me. If I knew I could be an entrepreneur, I'll not be coming to the city. I see lots of opportunity in the village to do things, and I will bring the city in my village. Why should I go to the city to be there? So technology will help me. I said, I'll serve you out of my own home in my village. I have a brilliant idea. You get my service right there on your doorstep, and exactly the way I compete with all the urban guys that are doing it to you. Because today my physical presence is not needed. And there are so many other ideas will come, and technology can help me in doing that. And I can store your products in village in a safe way, clear way, half the price that you pay in your urban city. So I give a warehouse business for you. I do all kinds of sorting things for you. And I do it much cheaper, much easier. And so give me the chance. But the economy doesn't give you the chance. Finance doesn't give you the chance. Finance is always financing people who already have lots of money. That's the financial system. The financial system is the vehicle of the wealth concentration. So unless you redesign the financial system, wealth concentration will continue. We can reverse that whole financial system, make the finance to flow into the people who need the money for survival and expand their creative power. All human beings are so much packed with creative power. The guy sitting in the village looks stupid. He's a brilliant guy in terms of ideas and things, but he has no way to express it. This is the problem. That's where the technology has to come.
Thank you. That's really wonderful news. And I certainly come from the technology world, and this gives us the aspiration of what to do next.
Thank you.
To me,
lots of things to be done in the technology.
One of the other questions I have, like you have the SDGs and the Millennium Development Goals, which are divided into 12 to 16 different things. So we have a crisis which we are going through, and we have a situation where a lot of the money is gone in our country, your country, into fighting COVID, and then doing people. So there's less money left for doing social development and all. So what would be your thought? That should we be doing all the things as we did before? Clearly not. You've already taken the side that you can't go back to that world. So what would be the priorities amongst the goals are right. The question is, what are the priorities for the next 6 months, next 12 months?
Then for the next 6 months, next 12 months, the only thing to do is to prepare not to go back. That's the priority. It needs a lot of thinking, lots of rethinking. It's automatically you'll not be there. So all the designing has to be done now. As I said, what are the things we want to leave behind? This is the time to decide. For example, we don't want to take any fossil fuel with us, because that's a crime that we were carrying that will bring the whole world with us. So we stop. No fossil fuel, coal, oil, or anything will go with us. It stays here and remains buried here with the coronavirus. It will not go. And that is a hard decision we have to take. and make sure we want to make sure plastic will not go with us, because plastic was destroying us. So we have to decide, without plastic, how do we design our life and so on. Without plastic, we lived without plastic, for God's sake. This is not that we're born in the world. Adam and Eve was born with the plastic with them, and it's take care of it. It's not like this. It came the other way. Suddenly it took over our life. Now it's killing us. So we decide that plastic will not go with us. So we have to make a list of things which we do not want to do, and find out what are the new things we do. For example, we don't want the financial institutions to go with us, not in the way they do it. We have to redesign the entire financial system and make sure bulk of this financial system is driven by social businesses, not with the profit-making businesses. They are blinded by profit. They are smelling profit, so they go crazy after the money. So if you can create, I'm not blocking them out right away. I'm saying that you create a space for social businesses, so that people who want to do things, solve people's problem, they can do it as a social business. It's a business, sustainable business, but nobody's interested in making personal money out of it. This is something which covers the cost and serves the people in solving problems. So we create the institution which solves the problem. Priority is not my priority right now. Priority is a thinking priority. Imagination is a priority. We have to imagine, we have to fictionalize what the world would be like. Fiction is an imagination. Once we know how to design the fiction, we know how to create the reality. You are a technology person. All technologies start with fiction. Why can't we call somebody from here and he will listen to another? That's a fiction made a reality. You can get a telephone call. Otherwise, it won't be. So everything comes with fiction. Fiction is something very important. This is the time for us, every home, every person, create those fictions so that we can transform them into reality and create a new world. A world where there'll be no global warming. Global warming will not be there. We want to 100% make sure this is the end of the global warming. And this will be a world where there'll be no wealth concentration. We turn around the wealth concentration. All the wealth that went out will come down now. We have designed it. It's like designing a software. You have a problem, you design a software. So you design a software so that how to make the system work. The coding will be done so that all the money that went to one direction, they start coming another direction, so that we share the wealth, not monopolize the wealth. Today that is. And how to stop the artificial intelligence to go in the wrong way, bring it to the right way. We have been doing it yourself with healthcare.
Can I flip your question of artificial intelligence the other way around? A lot of young people wanted to go back into the finance world that you said we shouldn't be going into. How do we get that mind? They all want to donate their money now to social causes, but how do we get their mind now into creating this new world? We have got their money through donations and other things, but how do we get those same young people? Because if we have the right talent, I mean, the same people, everybody applies their mind to the new world. What do you have to these young people who will make this new world? People like me are done with.
Very much needed. All the experience. To the young people that I try to convince them by saying that you are the most powerful generation in human history. So that shocks them that we are the most powerful generation in human history. I said, not because you are smarter than our generation, our previous generation. We are the same people. Each human being is packed with unlimited creative capacity. And you also have the same trait. You are packed with unlimited creative capacity. But the difference that makes between you and me is that you are born with technology in your hand. I was not born with technology in my hand. We used to write in longhand in a piece of paper and stuff it in an envelope and lick a stamp and put it in the envelope and mail it in a mailbox and wait for months to get a reply. You do it instantly. That's the speed that you brought. So I said, if you are aware that all the energy, all the power that you have that nobody else ever had, you're the first generation to have all this power. Simple question for you. What are you going to use this power for? If you decide where this power is going to, make use of it. If you are not thinking about this power, you had it, it will be wasted. I tell them that you have the Aladdin's lamp in your hand, but you never touched that Aladdin's lamp. Genie never came out. And you never asked the genie what to do. So nothing happened. It's just like another lamp. So you have to be aware that you have a genie in your hand. Today, I would say not in your hand. You are the genie, but you are not aware of it. If you're a genie, do it. You can do things which no other generation ever did, but you look like the same old guy. You are not the same old guy. We are a very different breed of people today. So make use of it, change the world which fits you, not the world that you have to live where your grandparents and your parents live. That's old world. That's a dangerous world. You don't have to go back there. You create, and Corona has provided the opportunity to do that. Please make use of it. Come and do it. And you are as good as anybody else. Don't wait for a brilliant guy to come. Everybody is brilliant. Simply, occasion makes you brilliant, not something that you carry with you. Your circumstances, your environment that you create for yourself makes you brilliant because you do things which nobody else did.
Thank you, Dr. Yunus. So I've got one question left, which I'll ask you later on.
Okay.
We have questions from the audience who've actually curated and they voted for these questions. So you're going to get things which the audience really wants, not what I want. So there's Mr. Vinay Mathur has asked a question. What do you think about introducing medical care as subject in elementary education syllabus to avoid such situations as today?
Health is always part of education in primary school, and health hygiene. Used to call them hygiene. I'm sure it's the same thing here, but much more advanced version. But it's awareness about life, awareness about how to make a good life. What is a healthy food? The food is another item that we don't want to take from old world to the new world. For example, all the cattle, all the beef eating, and that's causing all the global warming problem. So why should we get attached to the meat and continue to eat meat and create problem for us? So those kind of things. What do we eat, which is right for the world, right for the body, and it's something healthy for all of us. Those kind of ideas. So that when you talk about the cleanliness, when you talk about the sanitation, these are part of the growing up process. Why is it harmful if I do something to other people? And how do I not do things which makes other people's life endangered? Those things, those norms have to be done. And then along with it, how I can protect people from the problem that is created, what my responsibility is, because I have to understand it's not me alone. The current world is a me world. I'm the only one. I don't care for others. That mentality has to go. We have to share, we have to participate, we have to take a global interest, total interest, rather than a self-interest. Self-interest will be a part of it, but not the whole of it. The whole of it will be the common interest so that we can stay together and make it happen. So healthcare is an essential item. And with all the technology, all the new inventions that are happening, healthcare, people can have a beautiful life, healthy life for a long, long time if we behave ourselves in the right way.
Thank you. That's really a great answer. Vinay, I hope you got your answer from Dr. Yunus. The second question is, considering the fact of job losses and liquidity concerns, what role will the microfinance companies play in issuing additional microloans and recovery of the existing loans? How will this affect the existing microfinance companies itself?
First of all, I want to point out microfinance was the defiance of the conventional finance. Microfinance didn't exist. We dared to defy their rules. They said, you cannot do that. We said, we can do that. Of course, I don't have to take orders from you. They said, you cannot do banking without collateral. I said, forget about collateral, because collateral is kind of building a wall in front of the poor people so that they cannot enter our territory. Destroy that wall so that we can serve you as good as anybody else. So that's what the starting point of microfinance is. That has shown the first block of building block, that you create entire financial system on top of all those defiance issues. So you go and defy all the norms that have been set up. So I was mentioning about unemployed young people. Unemployed young people not being able to access equity, small equity they need to start the business. Nobody will do that because you don't have anything in your hand to bring as collateral. Neither your family has anything to provide your collateral. So your finance will deny you. I said, no, we create a financial system which doesn't talk about the collateral. It's a no-no, and build the whole system. And we did. We created social business venture capital fund. You know, the conventional venture capital fund, they're willing to make money out of you because you have an idea, I give you the money and I take bulk of the profit that you get. So we created social business venture capital, which is different. We said, we are not interested in making profit out of you. Profit, whatever you make is yours. Only thing you return what I gave you, plus a little bit of service charge, tiny little, so that I can cover my cost, survival cost. That's all. That's it. We don't want, and young people love that. This is so easy. And so even if you fail, we'll still continue with you and we are not abandoning you. So we have a basic policy. We don't abandon anybody and we don't reject anybody. So to us, everybody has, people say, how do you know whether he's an entrepreneurial material? I said, I don't have to know. As long as he's a human being, I know human being is good for entrepreneurship. So he needs to get a chance. So I gave him a chance and he takes a chance and shows it up. And this is so the entire financial system will be moving. So with the microfinance right now, microfinance has taken two different shapes. Unfortunately, some microfinance is push itself into loan sharking part, make money out of it. And luckily, the central bank has imposed, RBI has imposed interest cap and so on and so forth. But still, there are many other ways to get money out of people. So I said, that's not the intention of microcredit. Microcredit is a social business. We created microcredit to help people to get out of the situation they are in and not to make money for ourselves. So this is one area that this is a chance and create lots of social business microfinance area so that we can continue with helping people getting out. And there are many other programs that we have developed during the disaster period. We didn't have the coronavirus before, but we had all the cyclones in Bangladesh, all the floods in Bangladesh. Some of the floods were nationwide floods, microfinance. We knew how to survive out of this when you lose everything, your house, your cattle, your possessions, everything gone. But we built it up. We said, okay, don't worry about paying us money back. Our job is to put you back on your feet. Once you are back on your feet, let's talk how to reorganize everything, the past debts and so on, how much you pay now, how much you pay later. But we don't want to put a burden on you which you cannot carry. We'll willingly, whatever you can do, we are in a long-term relationship here. And you own the bank itself. So don't worry about bank is coming to destroy you. So you have to work together. So this is the attitude. There are many issues now that we can understand. First of all, that in a situation like that, what the Grameen Bank response would be, forget about the old loans. Let's start anew because we had a lot of problems. So we start. So it's not about pushing you to give money back, here's the interest, here's a capital principal that you have to pay. Don't worry about that. We block that out. Let's build the world from the scratch. And once you are capable of handling the past, then we come back how much of it we can handle, how much we cannot handle, how do you settle it, how to make the bank running again, and so that it's not dead. The bank has to run, and you have to run, where our life is integrated together. So that's how the microfinance.
Thank you.
The whole world has to be expansion of the financial system has to be complete. Nobody should be excluded from the financial system.
Thank you very much. I think you've been polite to the male gender because actually the women who made this happen.
Absolutely. That's 97% of Grameen borrowers are women. And wherever it went, it became 100% women. And it's, globally, it is shown that the people who cannot believe that women can do such a thing in countries like United States, extremely poor women, join Grameen Bank. Now we have more than 200,000 women in Grameen America. Mostly undocumented women.
One last question.
Lend them money, they pay back. We have been lending money billions of dollars in tiny loan, $100,000, and they pay back 100%. We had no problem.
Very good, sir. So one last question is there. How do you think that the problem of mobility could be solved, which is faced by many people from the informal sector? And where do you think our system is lacking?
Mobility, meaning social mobility or physical mobility?
Physical, social, that's my...
Yeah, well, it's a profound point. Social mobility is facilitated by the institutions and policies and so education system. So if you have the education system open to us, I learn everything, I know what to do. And if it's not job-oriented world, then I don't much care about the education, so what kind of stamp I have on my paper, that the diploma, which is cool. That doesn't matter, because if you're an entrepreneur, You don't need this piece of paper. You need success in your business. That's all. Nobody cares which school you got the paper from. As long as you show your talent, your creativity, in doing things in your own way. So the moment you introduce the entrepreneurship into the picture, the whole idea of institutionalizing educations and so on transform completely. Because many of them don't even have to complete their schools to start their life, because they are already capable enough as a young person. Whatever they need to know, they know, because they have access to technology and so on. And then they learn as they go around. And they can take up any course, anything they need to know, and get it's a come and go kind of situation. So this is a kind of a picture that you can promote on the physical mobility. Becomes so much easier when you bring the entrepreneurship into the picture, when you become social business into the picture, and that becomes so much easier. Physical mobility, of course, is a question of now the other issues of the technology, fast movement, and so on. How fast do you want to go? Why do you want to go? If it's a job, it's one thing. If it's entrepreneurship, that's one thing. Carry things. We cannot carry things from the village to the urban city, because everything has to be carried to the urban. Otherwise, your life is not complete. So we have to change that order. We are as human beings, as in rural area, as you are in urban area. We need so you should be mutual. You'll be carrying things to the village, and you'll be carrying village to cities. Mutual exchange of things that will happen. And in the terms of trade should be in our favor, not your favor, because we grow things, you don't grow things.
No, it's been very fascinating hearing you, Dr. Yunus. I'll ask a few personal questions if you don't mind.
Go ahead. Yeah.
For me, I just had to learn, because my hair was growing. I didn't dare to show that. I actually used a scissor to cut my hair.
I have long hair now.
I didn't cut off my ears. So what has been your learning during this time?
I'm still growing my hair, because nobody's giving me hair. You can see that. So I like that. It's getting longer and longer.
And one last question. I thought I was a big multitasker, but you have completely a number of things you do together. How do you manage that and still keep laughing?
Oh, it's a fun thing to do.
Actually, if you're able to teach that to all of us, we would have done so much better.
No, it's so much fun to doing that. It's everything is so exciting, because you're doing it the first time and you don't know whether it's going to work, but you have an idea and you continue to pursue it. And obviously you fail, but you don't give up. You take it up again, you do it again, and finally it works. And you feel happy and everybody feels happy that you do that. And I try to kind of put it in a sentence by saying that making money may be happiness, but making other people happy is a super happiness. So I'm enjoying that super happiness. Whatever I do is all dedicated to other people.
You're the super app that people dream of.
That's true. That's it. That's what everybody has entitled to, the super happiness. I'm inviting them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
We finished. I told you I'll give you back a few minutes of your life. And
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yunus. I'm sure the audience has enjoyed this one. You left a lot of food for thought for all of us. And we promise that we'll do our best not to go back to that old world.
Absolutely. There's no way. No go back. No going back. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yunus and Mr. Seth, for this really inspiring session. Dr. Yunus, you've given us so much to think about. So we will all each have to figure out what to leave behind and apply ourselves to reimagining the future. So thank you so much. We will all attempt to go back.
Thank you. Let's make sure we don't go back.
I always listen to the ladies. You told me 243 and it's 243.
Thank you so much, Arun. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you. So audience, please hang on. We have a very interesting keynote coming up. We have with us Rupa Kurva. Rupa leads the Omidyar Network India and is responsible for its overall strategy, investments, operations, and portfolio management. Prior to joining Omidyar Network, Rupa was the CEO of CRISIL and led CRISIL's transformation to become a diversified global analytical company. Rupa served on the boards of several companies, including Infosys, Nestle, IIM Ahmedabad. She also has served on several government, regulatory, and policy committees, including SEBI, RBI, and NASSCOM. Rupa, thank you so much for sparing time to be with us today. I know Omidyar has been in the thick of action responding to COVID and supporting organizations respond to COVID. So over to you.
Thank you, Lakshmi. It's a real pleasure to be here. And good afternoon, friends. It has now been almost 3.5 months since we first detected the COVID cases on our shores. And in no time at all, non-profit organizations galvanized themselves into action. And we can now see that they are helping India manage not only the pandemic itself, but also the consequent socioeconomic impact. Nonprofits work with the most underserved populations in some of the most difficult to reach areas of India. And today, we can see that compared to governments and corporates, the deep reach of civil society organizations positions them really uniquely to serve those who are the worst affected, be it migrant laborers, the homeless, and the urban poor. NGOs have the last mile reach, the trust, the connect, and the capacity to support affected communities that goes well beyond what governments have. While the efforts of the sector are indeed being appreciated, there is limited data, and therefore we don't have a macro picture of the range of initiatives that NGOs have undertaken. In today's session, our effort is to bring some data to the table. An analysis of the 1,700 funding proposals that we have received under our Rapid Response Funding Initiative can serve as a proxy indicator to the mix of initiatives that the sector is engaged in, and it provides some really interesting insights. The experience of running the Rapid Response Funding Initiative has also allowed us to develop some reflections as a funder, and we wanted to share those today with you as well. Omidyar Network India is an investment firm focused on social impact. We make equity investments in early stage for-profit enterprises and also provide grants to nonprofits. Our work is characterized typically by a thoughtful and rigorous development of investment thesis and strategies, which can often take several months and even beyond, and very high levels of diligence and selectivity to pick each investee and grantee. So when COVID happened, we soon realized that enabling money to flow quickly to the NGOs was vital, as they were at the front line of the relief efforts. But we are a small firm, we have 30 people, and our team needed to pay attention to our large portfolio of 94 investees and grantees who were under stress due to the pandemic. Moreover, our processes were designed for longer term funding needs. So it was clear that if we wanted to do something meaningful in the short term, a business as usual approach will not work. We therefore launched the Rapid Response Funding Initiative on the 24th of March, the day the lockdown was announced. The purpose was to fast track innovation and address urgent needs to respond to challenges of the pandemic and the consequent economic slowdown. The total funding available is 10.75 crore rupees, and we consider proposals ranging from 5 lakh rupees to 2 crore rupees. We also publicly committed to an outer limit of 10 days from the receipt of the proposal to make a funding decision. So what has been the progress so far? In the last 51 days, we have received 1,700 applications and processed all of them. 130 have made it past the initial screening. 23 proposals have been approved for 6.3 crore rupees. And if you note the row at the bottom, there is still a requirement of 13.7 crore for these proposals, in case there are funders on this call who would like to consider them. Based on these 1,700 proposals, we now have a good macro view of how the sector is responding to COVID. Nearly 50% of the proposals focus on community outreach and mobilization. These could be direct relief, awareness building, and ground level monitoring of the virus spread. Most efforts target daily wage earners, especially migrants, both returning as well as those who stayed back. NGOs are distributing relief packs, including food, medicine, and essential supplies. They're also creating local and regional awareness campaigns through multiple platforms, helplines, SMS, and social media. About 33% of the proposals are data, apps, and other tech-led solutions. For example, deploying alternative testing methods and contact tracing solutions. We are seeing solutions that support vulnerable communities, for example, tracking and addressing the needs of migrant workers. For example, Reap Benefit has launched a crowdsourced citizens network that supports local citizens and governments in last mile delivery of healthcare, food, and basic income relief to citizens that need it. Another 10% of initiatives focus on economic resilience of lower income populations, supporting access to government as well as private welfare schemes, and also supporting livelihoods. For example, Jan Sahas and Jan Vikas provide holistic support for daily wage earners, particularly those from minority and disadvantaged communities. 5% of the proposals are for research and fact-based inputs that can inform the thinking of policymakers. Vidhi Legal, for example, is developing a data sharing protocol to help governments' efforts in sharing and management of citizen data for formulating critical health responses. In narrative building, Gav Connection and Radio Mewat are running interactive campaigns to create awareness of best practices and also broadcasting stories to inform efforts in other regions. We're also really heartened to see collaborative efforts. And here, two coalitions are worth mentioning. The first is Action COVID-19 Team, which is ACT, a 100 crore grant fund by over 25 VC firms and the startup community. The second is Rapid Community Response to COVID-19. This originally started off as a national coalition of 20 grassroots NGOs, and within the last month or so has now grown to 50. And they are focused on managing the pandemic as well as supporting resilience efforts. Now, as we move to the subsequent stages of the pandemic and come out of the lockdown, we are beginning to see some shifts in the areas of focus of nonprofits to the ones listed here, whether it be building the resilience of the small business sector, mental health support, protection against domestic abuse, increasing use of tech in areas like access to justice, reopening supply chains, etc. I also wanted to share some unique examples of contributions that some of our grantees have made during this crisis. These are all grantees pre the Rapid Response Funding Initiative. We had Jan Sahas's very powerful survey on migrants, which showed that 42% of the workers mentioned that they had no ration left even for one day, let alone for the duration of the lockdown. E-Government's Foundation quickly developed the e-pass, which helped government manage movement of essential workers during the lockdown. And the Swachhata app, developed by Janagraha, is being used to disseminate COVID-related information. And finally, we have Give India, which started a large retail funding drive in partnership with Facebook, including the recent I for India concert. Now, all of this shows that NGOs have played a vital role in complementing, supporting, and informing government initiatives. Clearly, COVID and its aftermath will have a prolonged and deep impact on our society and economy. But even early into the pandemic, within the first 100 days, many myths about the nonprofit sector are being debunked. We have seen that nonprofits can not only mobilize quickly, but they can even pivot rapidly to provide cost-effective solutions. They can leverage technology, traditionally not considered their forte. NGOs can collaborate with each other, contrary to long-held perceptions. And above all, NGOs have led from the front, showing admirable public spirit as well as courage, grit, empathy, and boldness to be in the front line at great risk. Their efforts strongly underscore their deep commitment to building an India that is inclusive, caring, and more equitable. Finally, I wanted to share some reflections as a funder. In January 2019, Omidyar Network India spun out of our global parent, Omidyar Network, to become an autonomous India-focused entity with an India-specific strategy. We are highly empowered locally to make decisions, and it is this autonomous organization construct and empowerment that really helped us design the Rapid Response Funding Initiative in just 3 to 4 days. As I already mentioned, we realized that the goals of the Rapid Response Funding Initiative would not be met if we followed a BAU approach. Our screening and approval process, therefore, is very different from our regular approach. There's a simple application process with a 2-page form and 0 reporting requirements from recipients so as not to burden and distract them during this crisis. Despite heightened demands to support our current portfolio, our team really showed a strong commitment to the RRFI. A small core team of 4 people has screened 1,700 proposals and created a shortlist. We also provide a 24-hour window for our entire organization to share its views on shortlisted proposals. Our team also made a substantial personal financial contribution to the RRFI. That's a 3.25 crore or 1/3 of the total funding. Like all funders, we have a strong focus on a learning and impact agenda. However, under the RRFI, we are not asking for any reporting from the recipients. And so we are constrained in measuring impact and in getting deep ground level insights. Therefore, our learning agenda became to develop a macro view on the nature of nonprofit responses to COVID, the kind of information I've just shared with you today, through robust data capture and a systematic classification of proposals. One important feature of the RRFI is the collaborations that it has spawned with other funders and sector leaders. All proposals that make it past our initial screen, as well as our assessments for all approved proposals, are being made available to other funders as well as a public good. Do contact us and we'll be happy to give you access to these. Similarly, we are sourcing recommendations from sector leaders to leverage their knowledge. This has enabled us to identify some organizations that would otherwise not ever have come to our attention. Indeed, I would say that one of the biggest benefits to us has been the connections to and the awareness of several hundreds of NGOs that we didn't know about earlier. Their efforts are very inspiring. We feel enriched as well as humbled at the same time. We still have 4.5 crore rupees to deploy under the Rapid Response Funding Initiative, and we expect the funding to be fully committed in the next couple of weeks. We will update the data and we will publish our learnings once we close this initiative. Thank you very much for this opportunity to share our insights. I'd like to thank the entire Nudge team and everyone who's on the webinar here today. With that, back to Lakshmi.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights and experiences with the RRFI, Rupa. Really appreciate it. To the audience, I'm sorry we don't have time on this session to respond to the questions that may be addressed to Rupa, but please feel free to share your questions. We'll collate these questions and try and get back to you with responses subsequently. We will be stopping the plenary session in about a minute now, and we'll be moving to the various tracks, and you can use the Zoom links on the website or the app to navigate to the sessions you wish to attend. Do join us here at 7 p.m. for what I know is going to be a very engaging plenary session with leaders of some of India's largest nonprofits. So until then, take care. See you soon.